Welcome back to CFB Nation. I am your host, NinoBrown, and unfortunately, the Garnett Roost has got a facelift. My guy, my mentor, my partner in crime, Brian Bosage, had to step away for a little bit. He's got a busy schedule going on. I will be taking over in the Garnett Roost with the best wishes from my guy, Deep Fried Draft. Um, Listen, I hope I can do as much justice to this show as he did. There's going to be a little bit of changes, but the precedents of the show will stay the same. Instead of rapid fire, there's nobody for me to talk rapid fire with. I'm going to talk about get some stuff off my chest. Now, in this episode of the Garnett Roost, I got 4 things I want to get off my chest. I got a huge issue with the usage and the development of 5-star speedster wide receiver Nick Hopper. Dude's played a total of 10 offensive snaps, and he doesn't even have more than a single target. What's going on? What is going on? It's Kentucky, not a single target. 2, South Carolina leads the SEC. That's right, 2-0, 1-0 in conference play. So right now, the Gamecocks, my friends, are your SEC leader. You can put that in your pipe and smoke it. I am going to continue to stand on business and pound that drum that safety Nick Emaware is a top 5 safety in this class, and he ain't 5. Oh, the thrill is gone. The thrill is gone. But Rocket Raheem Sanders. This rocket has been grounded more times than SpaceX Falcon 9. Now, let's get on to the good, the bad, and the ugly from the Kentucky game. The good, my man Brosage would be so happy. Dylan Stewart, in less than 10 snaps this week, was still a force on a defensive line. 3 total pressures, 2 hurries, 1 QB hit, and 2 run stops. Stewart, in all amounts of the word, is an absolute freak. Now, the defense as a whole, I'm happy with. They held it down again. Both Debo Williams and Bamont Scott combined for 12 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and they continue to lead the linebacker room with physical downhill play. The secondary was a pack of rabid dogs again this week versus Kentucky, and it seems to be the heartbeat of this defense. They were blanketing receivers and clogging lanes. Barron Brown, Dane Key were non-factors in this game. Brock Vandagriff had 30 total yards passing. The Gamecocks held them to 6-17 passes for 44 yards combined between both quarterbacks. Vandagriff was seeing ghosts. They allowed on one drive of longer than 6 plays, and they had back-to-back drives that resulted in an interception. One was a pick 6. It seems as though in both seasons, last season happened, and this season had already happened, we called out Kai Kruger, the special teams expert in the punting game, and boy, did he show out in this one. 3 punts of over 50 yards, pinning them inside the 20, and the last one was for 36. Unfortunately, it was a touchback, but my guy is locked in. It seems as though every time me and Bosage kind of get in this guy's ear, rip him apart a little bit, and kind of grind him, he always shows out and is locked in for the rest of the season. Now, let's get to the bad. I mentioned it a little bit and get it off my chest. Raheem Sanders has no explosiveness this game. And they really don't have anything behind him or willing to give anybody else a chance. He has a total of 42 breakaway yards, which accounts to like less than 30% of his runs have explosion. It seems as though the 22 version of Rocket Racine, we hoped could be gone and long gone forever. Attaway and Juju McDowell got 2 total attempts. And to be totally honest with you, Attaway, who I was high on, has been a disappointment. I think he's got 2 yards total in 2 games. I thought that he would be a nice compliment to Rocket Raheem. Not at all. The offense is extremely vanilla, and this has been sponsored by Briars. The Gamecocks are struggling to put long drives together, and it hurts to watch. And that was only the bad. Let's get to the ugly. We still, to repeat from last week, cannot block shit. I mean, we're in the green for 1 sack this week because they only gave up 3. But, man, even the tight ends got to get better at O-line because both Smith and Simon allowed a sack. And unfortunately, Josiah Thompson took a step back this week compared to how good he was against ODU. Now, Mazio Bennett, he might be a wide receiver 1. That is how bad this room is. And if I asked both sides, and I kind of poked a little bit early before I got on, how he felt about, him being the wide receiver 1, because I think it could be very soon. He says he's the wide receiver 1 right now. In this game alone, he had 3 receptions for 63 yards and a touchdown, and a nice touchdown on a 24-yard route. Outside of him, it's been Jared Brown, and that's it. Again, there was no Gage Laverdine, so we're going 2 weeks in a row with, another transfer that was supposed to come in and help this room. Hasn't been healthy enough to play. The Hobble Watch, they just put the lock on the gate to the dock. He has been non-existent for 2 games, and it's really concerning. He's probably going to look good in another team's jersey next season. We talked about recruiting last week. We were nervous as though games like that, games where you're supposed to dominate against ODU and you squeak by. Games like Kentucky will help. Well, last week, Zion Giles, a 4-star offensive lineman recruit from South Carolina, he was at the ODU game, right? He's a top 30 offensive lineman in the class. We need to keep our own. He's from South Carolina. It is immense that when we have recruits in, that we show out and show off. Beamer already stated, this game against LSU is going to be on College game day. This is going to be enormous for recruits. He's hinted at it already, and he will continue to hint at it all week. You could see some big-name guys that are on the fence here. Names haven't been announced yet. I would expect this could go good or bad. If we get the doors blown off, unfortunately, this is kind of where I'm leaning against number 16 LSU. You possibly could see some more decommitments from guys that we thought we had in the bag, or guys that will lean in South Carolina in the 2026 class that could go a different way. We're winning, and I'm cool with the wins, but they're not very convincing. I liked this one. It was a step in the right direction coming out of the ODU game. I thought that this would have been, what we did to Kentucky was what we would have done to ODU. I'm happy with it. But we need to stack them. And this one coming up against number 16 LSU on ABC at 12 o'clock is going to be a test. Garrett Nussmeier has been tearing it up the first 2 games for LSU. I'm talking about a kid who can't miss. 75% completion rate, over 600-plus yards, 10 touchdowns, and 1 pick. He can make every single throw you want from a quarterback, and he will probably be a top 5 quarterback in this draft. We are going to need guys like Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard to push the pile, to get pressure, to make pockets smaller, make him move. Yes, he can throw on the run. He's better in the pocket than he is on the run. So let's just kind of get him out of his comfort zone. Let's kind of make it so that he doesn't have all the time in the world to throw the ball, because Kyron Lacey is a problem. Already has 4 touchdowns in 2 games. He's probably going to be the next LSU stud as the tradition continues. You really can't guard him. I mean, Nick Nware, Jalen Kilgore, and DQ Fortune are going to have their hands full in rotation on having a safety cheat, because you're not going to cover him one-on-one. He can beat you to the boundary. He has enough speed to take the 9 route to the house. The toughness to play across the middle. He's got the hands that not any single throw from Nussmeier is uncatchable. Like I said, DQ and Jalen Kilgore, who's been playing a lot in the slot lately this season, will have their hands full. Lacey can line up anywhere. Aaron Anderson has come on this season, 10 receptions for 120 yards of touchdown. So it's like, do we need to guard another weapon? It would have been nice if it was just a one-trick pony, but it seems as though Anderson has kind of passed Hilton, as well as CJ Daniels has become the wide receiver too. Now, what we do have coming for us, and we have seemed to get a little bit of pressure. We've gotten good linebacker play when it comes in the run game. LSU's struggling. They are struggling to find an identity in the run game. They thought they had an answer with John Henry Jr. last week. He gave him a little bit of a spark. He's now injured. He's out for the season. Again, Kennard and Stewart need to squish the pile. They need to make lanes smaller. They need to clog lanes. They need to make, get whoever the running back is going to be. They need to get him off the mark, change his lane. Make it difficult for them to get these short 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s. This is the only way we're going to stay in it. We need these long drives. We haven't been able to get long drives. I have a problem with the development of Lenora Sells and how this offensive scheme is going, because a guy like Whit Weeks or Greg Penn or Harold Perkins Jr. against a shitty offensive line who can't sustain long drives and are 3 and out or 7 plays and we're gone on the cloud of dust, it's going to be a long, long afternoon for Lorna Sellers, and he could be looking up at the clouds a ton in this matchup if this line cannot protect him. 7 sacks, 2 weeks. It's not good. It's a little bit better than what we had last year, because we were already at about 15 last year. We're bringing in, you're going to play against some dogs. These guys smell blood and they're ready to be rabid attack. We cannot have Swiss cheese line play in this one, or it's going to be over at the half. Mazio Bennett's emerged, and it seems as though he's going to be the passing option here, outside of, the true freshman Smith at tight end and Simon. Those seem to be the only guys, Jared Brown here and there. Major Burns is as tough as nails. He has been elite for them this year. In a struggling wide receiver room, with the physical play of Burns, could he eliminate Mazio as a passing option by playing down on the line, by playing physical and bump and run? If they can't afford, the Gamecocks can't afford to lose any assets in the passing game. They need all the weapons to get. Shit, they're not even using weapons that they got in Nicholas Harbor. So to take away the kid that seems to be emerging, they better have an answer. If I felt comfortable enough where I could say, let's start the game off by running the ball, giving it to Raheem Sanders and letting him, ground and pound, I just don't think that he has the longevity, nor does he have the explosiveness to be able to carry that the full game. We might wear this guy out by halftime, and then you're screwed. You got nothing. You're relying on Lenora Sellers' legs, where I'd rather not do that in a game like this. This good and this bad. We're 2-0. It's a, how do they say? Lipstick on a pig, folks. Okay? Lipstick on a pig is where we're at right now. 2-0 is deceiving. We're getting to this point where it's the final prediction for this game versus LSU. My man Brosage, I asked him for a prediction score. He says, I want you to let everybody know that we're back. I says, well, we're back. He says, we're back. I said, so what are you telling me? He goes, we're back, and it's going to be a 20-17 South Carolina Gamecocks victory. I, on the other hand, my friends, am not as optimistic as my good counterpart, Brian Bosage, is. I don't trust what Dow Loggins is doing in this offensive scheme whatsoever. I think it is flip a coin and point, and this is what we're going with. They're not really developing Lenora Sellers. He's like a chicken with his head cut off out there. I don't think that they're using their weapons to the best of their ability. Like I said, I'm talking Breyer's vanilla ice cream when it comes to this offense. I think that they get the doors blown off them. I think they stick around. They hang around until the second half. But I got LSU winning this one 35-17. And then I think the reality starts to set in for the Gamecocks here. And that record of being undefeated and being the number one team in the SEC, we all come back down to reality. I'm hoping I'm wrong. But I need to see more out of Lenora Sellers. I was a big advocate of Lenora Sellers. I think the kid has it. I think the talent is there. I'm thinking that if we don't start to see a little bit better development of this offense, that we might start to hear a little bit more rumblings about the coaching staff for South Carolina. And how hot or lukewarm this seat is actually getting. They always say if you win, you can't really get fired. I don't know if that necessarily is the truth. like Meek Millie says, there's levels to this shit. There's levels to winning. And right now, I think South Carolina just needs to keep stacking wins because it doesn't seem like they're developing an offense here, and they're just kind of skating by the skin of their teeth. I'm NinoBrown, CFB Nation. This is the Garnett Roost. Spurs up.